And thank you very much to all our panellists. Thank you for your pigeonhole questions. We have an overwhelming number, so I apologise. We're not going to get through all of them. But one that is a dominant coming through this is this notion of what does this mean for HR? Is HR dead as a function? Are we going to see all functions outsourced to the line to others? Or might we actually see a resurgent HR function that finds a new reason for being in such a like? So maybe if I could give that to all of the panellists. And then just one other question that I saw alongside it, people said, is HR the wrong term? The notion of human capital, is that in some way dehumanizing even as a term? And should we be putting people at the forefront of all? So Purva, maybe if I could start with you in terms of answering.
So whether we call it HR, whether we call it the people function, I think it's really what they do. And HR can never be run by a separate department, whether it is in the new age economy or, in the traditional economy. Line function managers have always got to, because they understand the team, they understand their aspirations, etc. So I think all line managers have to per se be HR people, good managers of people themselves. However, of course, the HR function will evolve in the new age in very many dimensions. If the organization changes and if dealing with the organization requires different kinds of skills, HR has to change their practices, as I said earlier, and become far more flexible and not have those rules and regulations in the light that Kinney talked about, and they also have to learn to manage diversity. I think just about now we are learning to figure out that having women in the workforce is not a CSR initiative. And there is so much more diversity that we need to deal with.
Oh, very well put, very well put, sir. Very good, sir. Venkatesh, I mean, Coke have been renowned as having one of the world's foremost, most professional HR organisations. How is it evolving for you? I mean, what commentary would you offer?
The slide that you put up saying what's happening to the HR function, it's very true. We manage a 25,000 people organization with maybe 2 or 3 strategic business partners in HR. The vast majority of the HR, what's called HR, has been transferred either to an outsourced services organization, or they are directly managed by the managers. So the compensation recommendation, there's a tool that we use, and each of us has to, managers enter the compensation details. There are norms set. HR doesn't do it anymore. All the letters of promotion, increment, everything is standardized to a point where the line manager puts the request online, it all happens. And so the traditional role of HR has now changed to really having a strategic business partner who helps the line manager plan and strategize people practices and people strategies over the next 3 to 5 years, as opposed to managing day-to-day operations. And it really forces the line manager to think more about people. The other day I had somebody come and talk to us about how CEO is Chief Enthusiasm Officer now. So that's one of the big ones.
Very good. Dr. Tan?
I think all the more human capital and human resource function probably needs to evolve into a higher level of complexity. Just as today we are sort of given, and we're actually faced with an onslaught of all kinds of wearable technology for data mining purposes, monitoring. I happen to wear one of these things on my wrist which tracks my steps and so on. I think in any complex organization, whether it's Piyush is here, maybe talking about banking, healthcare, and so on. I think our HR would have to develop to a new level of complexity which allows them to track, almost like a GPS, the different complexities, the labyrinth of the different functionalities of the organization, and then be able to therefore respond a lot quicker, connect up the dots a lot better, and I think allowing the CEO, which I can quip in an additional word, instead of chief executive, he's really the chief enhancement officer, so that he can enhance the life of every single one of the colleagues, because at the end of the day, it's really about the people, it's really about you.
Very good, very good. Purva, you'll see from the commentary, you've unleashed a lot of commentary around your whole notion of project-based. The question, as we see there, what very practical things can we do to really earth that? The question specifically talks about, should we be moving from monthly pay to project-based pay? What are your ideas around one or two very practical things in terms of how that project-based mindset can be earthed in an organisation?
So I think rather than the organization itself changing, we will be forced to change. Increasingly, when you talk to the Gen Y, he doesn't understand the concept of monthly pay. In fact, he doesn't even understand this concept of why is my salary getting cut for the PF? What is this PF? I don't want it at 50, 60 years. I want it now and immediately. So that monthly pay is automatically going to change. I think increasingly, we will not have full-time employees. We will have project-based employees. Yes, there will always be a base set which is full-time, and then as you move to project and as you move to, as I said, that collective productivity, where HR has to start monitoring collective productivity, I think it's not about project-based pay as much as what does the team as a whole get for delivering on something. So it's more about team pay rather than individual pay.
Very good. Very, very good, sir. Final question to the gentleman on either side of me. You can see again from the question, the notion of are Gen Xers getting lost? Are they getting stuck between the baby boomers and this emerging Gen Y and Gen X? Again, the average age in the room is probably of Gen X. What does this world mean for Gen X? Are they the lost generation, or do they have a critical role to play? Are they going to be leading the charge? Venkatesh, maybe you could start.
Well, I can say that I'm in that age group, and I sometimes feel like a dinosaur in front of all our younger employees. Speaking for India, and again I can speak for India, as Andrew pointed out, we have the world's youngest population, youngest workforce. So there's a lot of talent available at the entry level, and there's a dearth of talent available at the senior level. And so the more we learn to leverage the younger talent, and especially Gen Y talent, and give them more responsibility and give them far more freedom, the more successful we'll be in our organizations and more successful we will be as leaders. So rather than see this as an either or a threat for the 40-somethings from this rising tide of 20 and 30-somethings, I see it more as an opportunity where if you can truly learn to unleash the potential of those youngsters, then you can force multiply your own leadership and your own capability.
I think far from it. In fact, if you look at the way we are all in a sandwich, if you look at it. The ones above us, I think we have a role to sort of reach out to them. If I'm the middle sort of a sandwich generation, I reach out to them, and the ones above us will pull us up. And we look at the ones below us where we pull them up, right? So it is a very sort of tightly clustered type of community that we live in. So I see the Gen X group as really key to the transition to the next quantum leap in terms of where we will bring the world economy to. I think in Singapore, you would have read in the recent National Day rally how our Prime Minister has paid tribute to the pioneer generation and so on. The Gen X group would be expected to take Singapore into the next lap with sustenance from with sustainability, longer-term sustainability from Gen Y and Gen Z. I think that's how we see ourselves, society, as a society, as a corporate, as an MNC. It's going to evolve and develop.
Very good, so. Look, thank you very much. One final word I might add, and actually came from your previous Chief Executive, Muhtar Kent, at a similar forum. We were discussing all of the challenges of Gen Y and Gen Z and the next generation, and talked also about this tidal wave of extraordinary talent coming out of Asia, but also the challenges. And many of us from, Larry was there from Google, there was, Muhtar, McKinsey was represented. We were sort of skiting about how we were taking a disproportionate share. And Muhtar, in his wisdom, looked at all of us and said, understand, but what an incredible responsibility. Never before in human history have we seen this amount of extraordinary talent coming on stream. Are you business leaders going to rise to the challenge that you will be remembered as the leaders that have unleashed this phenomenal wave that human history hasn't seen before? And I think that that's the final word, from us, that I think we are facing a moment in time that is extraordinary. It's not without challenge, but I back everyone in the room. And when I look at India in particular, clearly the volume, the quality is at the forefront, but also the role of technology. I don't think there is a nation better positioned on earth than India to also be at the forefront of that, and Singapore. So I think we collectively have a very exciting, the chief enthusiasm officer, absolutely, but also as the Chief Enhancement Officer, I think we've got an enormous responsibility and a wonderful period of stewardship. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you to the distinguished panel. Much appreciated. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the panel for not only, I think, giving us something very stimulating, but actually managing to do it in the time that they were asked to do it in. So thank you very much. I think we gave you too short a time, but that's wonderful. A small token of appreciation from us to the lady first. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Seelang. I think, sorry, we couldn't do this. Andrew?
Much appreciated. Thank you, sir.
And I think we got to do this thing for the... They need us to...